Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sterling Live. My name is Caitlin Brower. I'm Sterling's Director of PR and Social Media and your host for Sterling Live. I'm so excited for today's episode. First and foremost, I'd like to extend to everyone Happy Pride Month. That is our topic of discussion today. And I'm so excited to have these three individuals here with us. As you can see on screen, we've got Jeiel, we've got Lyvia, we've got Keith. I'm so excited for this conversation. We're going to have a real good time, really nice conversation. So I would like my three guests to introduce themselves to our audience. Again, thank you all three. So I'll go ahead at the top where I can see. Jeiel, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Happy Pride Month. So I'm Jeiel. I've been with Sterling for a little over 10 years now. And I've been a member or a committee member for our Safe ERG group for, I think, since last year. So I'm relatively new to the committee. I'm based in the Philippines. So some of my answers to Caitlin's questions may be based on my personal experiences here in the Philippines.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I will say, too, we have a global footprint on today's episode. So I love that as well. So I'll move down over to where I see on my left-hand side. Lyvia, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. My name is Lyvia. I'm in my 20s. I work for Sterling since last year. We were from Brazil and we were acquired by Sterling last year. I joined Safe ERG as soon as I joined the company, so it was a very good experience for me. And as Jeiel said, my answers might be considering my experience in Brazil. So that would be pretty awesome.
Thank you for joining us. Keith, last but not least, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi everyone, happy Pride. My name is Keith. I am stationed in the US. I have been with Sterling for over 7 years and I work in operations. I'm a supervisor for the criminal court researchers. I have been with the steering community for SAFE for about 2 to 3 years, I believe. So it's been great. I've enjoyed it and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all three again for joining me on today's episode. I know all three of our guests mentioned Safe ERG. We're going to get into that into the episode, but I'd like to kick off, it is Pride Month. I'd love to know, what Pride Month means to all three of you. So Jeiel, I'll start with you.
My answer, just to veer away from what my colleagues might answer, so I'm gonna try to be as different as possible. So for me, my Pride Month symbolizes hope and strength. We all know that the LGBTQIA plus community has gone through a lot of adversities, like in the past and even in the present, but they have always shown strength in spite of that to get over that. And we never lose hope that one day we will be able to gain that equality and justice that we have been fighting for so hard and that we, of course, rightfully deserve. So that's what Pride Month means to me.
And I definitely want to touch on to, the significance to this community a little bit more. So I will circle back on that. But Keith, what does Pride Month mean to you?
Pride Month to me is more of a reflection of the past, present, and future, about remembering the history, how it got started, where we are now, and what still needs to be done for this community going forward. Remembering the courageous people who fought and sacrificed so much so that others could live their true selves. And it's just a time to celebrate what we have now and continue fighting for the community in the future.
Absolutely. Lyvia, what does Pride Month mean to you?
For me, it's the sense of community and also a fight for basic rights for our community. We faced so many persecutions, so many prejudice in the past. In the future, we might face as well, and now we face too. So it's an opportunity for us to stand out for ourselves and go ahead, communicate that we deserve respect, and be mindful of that, raising awareness to all people around.
So, Olivia, you mentioned, that sense of community, and Jeiel, I know that was a part of your answer as well. So my next question for the three of you, and Keith, we'll start with you. What is the significance of this time for the LGBTQIA plus community?
I believe it's significant because we can come together, share, and show the world who we are. It is significant because those who are struggling to find themselves or making the decision to live their own true, authentic life can feel empowered, accepted, and gain confidence to be who they really are. It's a time to strengthen our community and continue fighting for our basic rights. And I love it because it's a time we can celebrate our uniqueness and who we really are. It's a time to share our voice, be heard, and just celebrate our own journeys and other journeys that other people are starting or continuing to have. We deserve to be heard and celebrated, so I'm glad to have that time to do that.
I appreciate that you said celebrating, not only your journey, but the journeys of those around you. And again, that really heightens that sense of community. So, Livia, the same question for you, the significance of this time on this community.
I would say it's pretty hard to fight on our own, alone. And we get together when we get together and we get to know people that are facing the same trouble or similar struggles that we have, and we get to know that we have allies there fighting for us, hearing us, and giving us the space to stand out for ourselves. It's pretty good. So it's an opportunity that we have to join everything and everyone in the same sense of trying to find the acceptance and getting to know that we are there, we are living, right? And we exist, we are diverse. So it's like that for me.
Yeah. And again, that just the phrase of we and us, it's you're in it together. It's again that sense of community. So JL, same question for you.
So again, speaking on my experience here in the Philippines, Pride Month highlights both our struggles and our perseverance. The Philippine LGBTQIA plus community is very resilient. We continue to fight for our rights to be given protection against hate and discrimination in the country. And it's actually pretty ironic how the Philippines is supposed to be considered one of the most gay-friendly countries in Southeast Asia, and yet we are still unable to pass an equality or anti-discrimination bill that will protect our rights. There are lawmakers who are allies of the community here that have been trying to pass like a law. It's called the SOGI bill, which stands for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity Expression Bill, and it aims to prohibit like discrimination based on a person's expression of sexual orientation or gender identity. And that bill has been going on since 2000. So it's now officially the longest running bill in the Philippines that has not been approved. And it has been met with opposition by different government officials and more recently by the newly elected administration who rejected any legislation of various anti-discrimination measures, which includes the SOGI equality bill. But fun fact, that actually led to the largest Pride March in Southeast Asia last year, which was attended by, I believe, over 100,000 people who are in support of the bill passing. So, and another background, we are a predominantly Catholic country. So most of the pushbacks that we've been getting when it comes to having that law passed comes from different religious organizations, both Catholic and non-Catholic groups. And like I said, Pride Month also highlights our perseverance as a community, and we will continue to fight for equality and hopefully provide a better and safer place for the future generation, and hopefully have that bill passed. Fingers crossed. Hoping for the best.
Well, I think it's, important that the three of you, you look around and you see, like, for example, like today, we're saying Happy Pride Month. That's how we start the episode. All three of you say that. I think it's important, though, as we're talking about the community and we're talking about this time, you do bring up the celebration, but you also bring up that it is a time to understand the struggles, the setbacks, but also being, the perseverance as well. So there's multiple parts of this. And again, it goes back to that community, you all being together and working through whether it is the highest of the highs or kind of the lows that you're facing as well. So I'd like to move into, you can see on our lovely backgrounds right here, it says be your authentic self. So I'd love to dive into, being your authentic self, but bringing that authenticity to work at Sterling. So Lyvia, I'll start with you. Can you share something about your own journey on being able to bring your authentic self to work?
Yes, it's funny for me to think about it because I came out in 2020 and it was a pandemic year. So I didn't got a chance to spread my wings and fly and say, hi, people, that's me, that's who I am. And it was a very, um, how can I say? I forgot the words in English, but it
It's
was a
okay.
very particular sense of coming out and talking to my closest friends. And then I started working at Socrates in 2021, which was acquired by Sterling last year. So when I started working at Socrates, I just have realized who I was and how I felt, my true nature. And I didn't feel uncomfortable at all because my former bosses, thanks to you, Marina and Rob Jones, they were amazingly welcoming and they are huge allies to the community. So I've never felt like I should hide this part of myself to present me as a more confident professional. For the contrary, I was accepted entirely for who I am. And they never questioned my capability of doing my work just because of that. So when I came to Sterling, I was afraid that the culture might change, but no, the culture was mostly the same. And then I met Safe and I felt safe. And it was pretty good to just keep evolving professionally and personally because I had the space to do that. That was my best experience into the moment.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm just so happy that when you came to Sterling, that you felt the same energy, the same acceptance, and I know we're going to talk about safe, but that you felt safe to be your authentic self as well. It's something that I'm very prideful of our organization, that you can show up to work and be yourself and get your job done and build relationships with your colleagues, no matter what. So Jeiel, same question here, bringing your authentic self to work.
Uh, as with Livia, personally, I haven't had any issues with being gay in Sterling. Like my sexual identity has never been a topic of discussion with anyone. And I surely haven't had any or haven't been discriminated against based on my sexuality, which I guess I'm thankful for. And I guess it speaks right to the culture that is being fostered here at Sterling. Um, we even have like a mandatory anti-harassment and discrimination training every year, which is great. So yeah, I have always felt the love and support and acknowledgement of my colleagues, team members, and even managers. So shout out to my credentialing team and my supervisors if you're watching, Leanne, Angela, and Steve. Thank you and love you guys.
Thank you for that. And then Keith, can you share a little bit something about your journey on bringing that, your authentic self to work?
Yeah. So, I'll try to do a quick history. I came out late in life, and I actually came out while I was working at Sterling. So that was a journey, and I grew up in a very right-winged family, and in a very religious family, and I was struggling with who I was at that time, and I didn't have any allies. I didn't have anybody to support, any support. So I kind of just went with what the ideology of my parents and with church, and so I kind of went with that. Got married to a woman, had 5 children, and I kind of lived 20 to 30 years of my life what the world wanted me to live and what others wanted me to live, and it wasn't until later that I was happy. So I made changes, um, and it was until I left my wife in 2022 that I was free to live my authentic life. My my ex and my kids are now my biggest allies, and they support me 100%. It took me longer to get there, where I am today, but I have the support and the encouragement, and I have the allies, I have the support, and I have people who celebrate who I am, and that doesn't just stop with my family. It also um, continues with Sterling, and they help me, they support me, and they celebrate who I am, and it's amazing to have a company that does that and makes you feel safe.
I appreciate, you sharing that story. I, welcome the authenticity and the rawness from all three of you. And I truly, appreciate, sharing that, because I assume sometimes it might not be the easiest thing to do. But it's always great to kind of hear those stories of, process and when things happen, and look at it now. It's I couldn't help but smile at the end of the story. So I appreciate that very, very much from all three of you. So there's no surprise that, the word safe has been thrown around. It's clearly the title of our employee resource group at Sterling. So I'd like to dive into our safe ERG a little bit, and let let our audience know what it's all about. So to start with, so Keith, Lyvia, and Jeiel, I'm going to ask you the same question here, but Keith, you get a two-parter. You get to define something for us quickly. So can you tell us what SAFE stands for? And then also, what role does this employee resource group play at Sterling?
Thanks. So SAFE stands for Sterling Acceptance for Everyone. And it is a group that fosters visibility, inclusion, affirmation for the community, for the LGBTQIA plus employees and allies at Sterling. The group shares experiences and drives initiatives to demystify and the diverse community to broader Sterling employee base. The role of the group is not only to create a safe place with Sterling, to create a safe place within Sterling for employees in this community, but it's also to educate and foster a relationship of allyship with other employees. My story getting into SAFE is that it was June 2020, and there was a ERG, SAFE ERG, and I knew there was they were going to celebrate Pride, and I was like, I'll attend it, and it was just the best time ever. We played uh, drag bingo with the drag queens. Her story was, we had questions and we got to know her story, but the meeting moved so much that I reached out to the manager of resource groups and told her my whole story. I hadn't told anybody at Sterling anything. I just told her my whole story in an email, and she was so inviting and so grateful that I was able to do that. She invited me to be on the Sterling community, and I felt that there was other people like me who was kind of hiding it, pushing it down, not wanting to present myself as part of the community. And she kind of helped me start my path on telling everybody. And that's happened at Sterling. It was like, my work is helping me come out. It's not something that really happens. It's usually, personal friends and everything. I wanted to tell my manager what about myself, but I chickened out, and it wasn't until later that I did reach out to my manager, and she was everything that I needed to be. She was loving. She supported me. She celebrated me. She understood me, and it just made me feel so happy to be a part of Sterling and a part of this group. And I felt like I had a place, and I knew how I could begin my journey and grow to be a better person and a better employee.
I love that story. That makes me proud to work for Sterling. And I will say, I'm pretty sure I won bingo that year. So props to me for winning bingo. It was a great session, though. Like you said, I wish everyone here was able to do it. So, Lyvia, what role does this employee resource group play at Sterling, in your opinion?
I believe it's to gather everyone together and to raise awareness, because we have committee members that are from different countries that have a global view, and they can bring people together. When I talk to my Latin colleagues, I am explaining what SAFE does, what SAFE is for, and if they want to, they have a safe space with us to share their stories or to just be with us and connect with people who are from the community and with allies, and they have this space to say what they want to say if they do participate in the initiatives, or just feel like they have a home inside the job. So it's like that for me. It's a safe place to connect everyone and to raise awareness for those who are not directly connected to the community yet.
Yeah, I absolutely love your response. And I will say, while this ERG is called SAFE, Sterling has many employee resource groups, which is incredible. When I joined Sterling, I was just so blown away by them. I'm in the women's network, and I will say that all of them are safe places. So while the one we're referring to right now is called SAFE, which is a great name for it, all of them kind of encompass that safe mentality of being able to show up, being able to just, Lyvia, like you said, just be there if you need to be, or participate, or be on the steering committee, or lead activities. But again, just that space to be provided to many of our employees. So Jeiel, what are you feeling? What is the role, the purpose of this ERG to Sterling?
Well, personally, for me, I think SAFE has really promoted awareness for employees with regards to the experience of other members within the community. Sometimes people can get stuck in their own bubble and tend to have like preconceived views or misconceptions about some things. But as we all know, the LGBTQIA plus community is a very broad spectrum, right? It's not just gay rights, but also trans rights, bi rights, lesbian rights, etc. And I think this group has helped shed light on how we should interact and appreciate each other as individuals. I mean, I myself, for quite some time, have been stuck in like some kind of bubble of not knowing what others are going through or how to properly and respectfully communicate and interact with people. And SAFE has definitely helped me, and I believe others with that.
Thank you for that. So being in the SAFE ERG, and, Lyvia, like you're a little new to the ERG. What do you feel that this group has learned over the last year as it continues to evolve and support, members within the community? So, Lyvia, you will start with this question.
Well, I'm very new to this, but what I could see from the beginning of last year when I joined It Safe and this year, we have been trying to gather people to participate, to hear them, what they feel like they could contribute to us, and to hear how could we better contribute to them as well. So we share our thoughts and we do this form with questions to bring the community to participate and to bring other people who want to join us to participate as well. So we give this public opportunity to everyone to join us and participate as they want to. I think we were doing this great from last year to this year.
It's important to constantly get that feedback to learn because all of these groups are very much ever evolving. So Jeiel, what are your thoughts? What has this group done over the past year, as you continue to evolve? Oh, I think you're muted, Jeiel. Typical technology snag, right?
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
There,
listen,
can you hear me now?
if that doesn't happen once a day, it might not be okay. So.
All right, so where was I? Anyway, so what I think SAFE has learned over the last year is that the world is big in the sense that what others may be going through in one part of the world may not necessarily be what others are going through as well in another part of the globe. So we live in different nations, and each nation has their own laws and culture, which affect how we are as members of the LGBTQIA plus community. So, like for example, something may be offensive for one culture, but may not be as offensive to another culture because that's just how they were conditioned. That's how they were brought up. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that if we're not offended by something, that it's not offensive for someone else. And that is what the SAFE group has taught us, to be more sensitive and respectful towards others, even if they don't share the same culture and beliefs as us.
Yeah, I think that's obviously insanely important. I know we will touch on global a little bit later, but I think that's like one of the biggest significances of these groups as well, is that we do touch on a global scale. So we are learning so many different things that, maybe in the past you were just over here kind of thinking it in your own lens, but now you're bringing in people within different cultures. Like you said, someone might find this offensive, but someone else does not, but you're still being respectful to understand and to learn a little bit more. So, Keith, what do you think that the group has learned over the past year as you continue to evolve?
I believe that the group has learned that there are many different people out there with their own special story. Everyone is on their own journey, but not everyone is on the same path, and everyone is in different parts of their journey. The group has learned to help support everyone on their journey. The group has also learned it's not only about the people who are in the LGBTQI community. It's about everybody else. It's about we've learned the importance of teaching people about allyship and how to be an ally, not just in general, but how to be an ally in the workplace. So it's we we always are learning about other people. It's great to have other people come in within the company and talk about their story, because people can relate and people can learn from those experiences and be like, hey, that's kind of like my journey, and like, oh, that's something I've never heard about. So we get to learn about people and who they are, and we get to celebrate those people, and learn about them as well. But I believe we've just learned that allyship is very important, and we want to help others be allies if they choose to be.
Absolutely. And, don't worry, we are going to touch on allyship in a little bit. So I have a question for all three of you on that. But just each part, like everything that all three of you raise is just so critical in how all of these groups are ever evolving, and that we can only be successful if we stop and take a second to listen, to understand if there's 500 people in a group, we need to understand how to make it better, how to make sure that they're getting everything possible that they need out of, these ERGs that we have. So, Keith, I know you touched on this a little bit before, so we'll tap back into it with all three of you. All three of you are on the steering committee. So what that means is that, these are the leaders of the group that, take action on things, plan things, whether it's, our quarterly meetings that we have, activities within a Teams thread, events like Pride Month. So I'm on the Women's Network Steering Committee. It's something that I was driven to right away, that I wanted to go. So I'm curious what drove all three of you to take on this leadership role within this ERG. So, Jeiel, I'll start with you.
For me first, it would have to be representation. Like I want to represent my country, the Philippines, and share our experiences here with others. Since the queer culture and experiences here is different than from what others may have in their countries. Second would be I like planning events and activities. So hopefully I would be able to share my expertise, quote unquote, with regards to event planning activities, and stuff like that, with the steering committee. And lastly, for my own personal reason, I think it's serving as more of a therapy for me, because it's a group that I feel safe sharing some of my personal experiences. I think this is the first group where I shared my experience about being outed back in high school, and it was very well accepted, and I felt like the warmth of everyone and support of everyone. And also when I shared about having friends dying from HIV, this group was there to support me and lend me their kind words. So yeah.
Yeah, listen, all three great reasons to drive you to be a part of that steering committee, of course. Lyvia, what drove you to be a part of the steering committee?
For me, also representation first. My first interaction with the group was an opportunity to show how is it to be a member of the community in Brazil. So we would share a slide for each country, showing the parties that we have, the fights that we do, the struggles we go through. So it was pretty good for me to stand out and present how Brazil goes, because mostly people think Brazil is all cool. They are all very welcoming, but we are also a very Christian, Catholic country. So very conservative thoughts. We have a very strong bent on the law producers that are religious, and they try to neglect our rights all the time. So we do have our struggles, and it is good for me to be here sharing globally how does it work in my country, and to also give opportunity to my colleagues to share, because every time I want or need to share something from the perspective of the whole country, I go to my colleagues and say, what is your thoughts about it? Because maybe they don't want to participate directly, but they want to talk to me, or they want to share their thoughts, and I can share also with the safe group. So representative is very important, and curiosity as well, because we are a multinational company. So we have global experiences, and we have a global view of everything that happens out there. So when we go to a group like SAFE, and we get to know people from all around the world, sharing their experience, sharing their struggles, it's a very good opportunity to grow ourselves and to increase our view and perspective of what problems are being faced out there, and to go beyond ourselves. So that's what motivate me most.
Absolutely. And I think it's great that you were given an opportunity so early into your membership to, present on, what is going on in Brazil. And that led you to be a part of the steering committee. So I think that's great that you were given that opportunity early on. So Keith, what drove you to be a part of the steering committee?
Representation of a certain group within the community, I would say. Before I came out, I hid myself. Um, I lived in a world where I suppressed everything. I knew what I wanted to be, but couldn't live it. So I was kind of like just hiding from the world in a way. And I didn't have the courage or support to make that leap forward. And I believe there's some people out there who are going through the same thing. So I wanted to be a part of the steering community to give those who didn't have a voice through me, and to let them know I know what you're going through, and you know to and just it's okay, and when you're ready, and we're here to support you and help you on your journey, even though we don't know who you are because they're still going through their own personal struggle. But just to let them know that if you're going through that struggle, we're here for you. And I always think about those people who don't know that are going through that struggle, or who want to come out, who don't feel that they can. And I want to give them a voice.
All three of you mentioned representation. And I think touching on what we spoke about earlier, bringing your authentic self to work is much easier when you do see someone that looks like you, has similar values to you, has gone through things that you have gone through. So I think that's another area where all of our ERGs are putting that out there, where there's representation across the board to where you can see yourself in someone else. And it's just a better place with that. So again, the fact that all three of you had brought that up, I think is great. And I think it's great that all three of you are on the steering committee as well. So during our conversation today, it was brought up a couple of times, but I just wanted to put it out there to see if you had any other additional thoughts on it or ideas. And it's about how SAFE reaches employees on a global scale. So again, all three of you have mentioned, it being global in some areas there, but I did want to see if you had any more thoughts on it. So Keith, I'll start with you.
I think Jeiel and Lyvia are the best people to answer this, as they're an amazing representation of how SAFE has reached our employees on a global scale. They are in different countries. But SAFE does have 4 meetings a year, every quarter, and I feel the story of reaching employees on a global level have more people around the world be part of the SAFE steering community. It would be amazing to have one from each countries, to be to have that representation in the SAFE ERG. The struggles we may be having in the US may not be the same struggles that they are having in Brazil or the Philippines or the UK or Canada. To be able to have a voice in many different countries allows everyone to learn about their culture, which may create different problems we may not be aware of. So it's opening up our eyes to their lives, and we have an opportunity to share our thoughts, but also learn, wow, I never thought about that, those kind of things, from other countries, or being like, wow, I should try that here. They might have better ideas than us. So I love just learning about cultures and learning about other countries and how they get through their struggles, because it could help us out as well.
Absolutely. Livia, how do you feel that the Safe ERG is reaching employees on a global scale, aside from what you mentioned already?
No, directly and personally, I would say using the representatives they have in each country. So we try to go there to our people and touch them more intimately, I would say. I like using different languages to speak to Latam because we have Mexico and Colombia that are Spanish speaking, and we have Brazil that are Portuguese, and I kind of represent both. So when I go there and announce an initiative or an action that the Safe ERG is having, I change the words to their home language so they can feel more welcome to participate and notice that your culture is valid. We hear you whenever you how you want to speak. You can choose your language and we'll find a way to communicate and understand both. So this is very important also. But two, I would say every action that we do, we try to put online in a time schedule that is accessible for everyone. So we try to cross time zones to affect everyone, and we try our best to get everyone together at the same moment, in the same place, in the same space, or else share the same things that we shared with a group, with the other group in a different time. So it's pretty good the way we manage that, I think.
We've gotten a lot better at that, I think, as a company, and it's something again that I find, critically important. And it is, for me, it's actually cool. I love us trying to come together and bringing together different time zones. I will say though, Olivia, I love that you said, your culture does matter and it is valued. So really that just stuck with me from what you said there. So Jeiel, any thoughts on, safe reaching our employees on a global scale?
Well, I think Keith and Lydia have mentioned most of them. Like we have social media posts that celebrate the individuality of Sterling employees. We also have like meetings and virtual sessions where we get to discuss relevant topics about the LGBT community and also invite people to share their own experiences within the community. I guess the one thing that we're working on right now is further widening that global reach. So right now, we are only able like to hold like one time slot schedules for the safe sessions with employees, and then there still be others within the company who also want to join these types of virtual get-togethers, but are unable to do so because they are like on different time zones country-wise. So hopefully, like we'll be able to come up with a solution for that, and maybe there may be an untapped audience there. Like people who want to share but aren't able to because of where they are, and hopefully we'll be able to find a way to be able to include them as well in these types of discussions and hear their voices out and their experiences.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I have one more question for the three of you. I just want to stop though and say that this has been just a phenomenal discussion. I love sitting here talking to the three of you. It's been absolutely great. So just a pre-thank you, but I'll say thank you again in a little bit. So my final question, Livia, I'll start with you. What is the importance of allyship?
Generally, I would say giving confidence to us to be our best versions, not only personally but on the job. Of course, I would not leave my potential behind just for not being accepted, but it would make harder. So when I have the reception of my former bosses and then the safe community, the safe ERG here at Sterling, I felt confident. I felt like I was a respected person, irrespective of my skills or of my past, my future. It doesn't matter. I am valid and I am respected and I am appreciated in my company. So allyship means the world to me because you give space for the person to be who they are. and to blossom and to be their best selves. So that's what matters most.
I love that. Thank you. Jeiel, what is the importance of allyship to you?
Well, allyship is very important to me. I'm 37 years old now, and I've gone through a lot of discrimination in the past, both from like family members, friends, and workmates. So for us, specifically here at Sterling, I think the workplace is supposed to be like or in general, the workplace is supposed to be a safe space for everyone, which is why it's very important for us to be surrounded by colleagues and leaders who support and encourage us to be who we are, while also standing up against people who may say or do harmful or offensive stuff towards us. And thankfully, for the record, I've never seen anyone or heard anyone on any occasion where someone in Sterling said offensive stuff to members of the LGBTQIA plus community, which I am very thankful for. Sterling has always been adamant at promoting a safe and welcoming environment for its employees, regardless of their race, gender, or sexual identity. We've had allyship trainings in the past, which I hope we will continue to do each and every year. We've also had allies come in and participate during the SAFE meetings where they share their own personal experiences, which hopefully inspired and helped others who share the same experience in situations as they did.
That's great. Keith, what is the importance of allyship to you?
Allyship is everything. When I was younger, I had no one to turn to. I had no ally. I made decisions that pleased others and not me. Without any allies, I didn't have any confidence, nor did I feel safe to express who I was. And I suppressed who I was. If I would have had an ally at the time, I would have had someone who understood and provided a safe place for me, and I could have started my journey so much earlier. There are people out there who feel alone. They feel they have to suppress who they are because they have no one to turn to, just like I didn't have anybody to turn to. Just knowing that there's someone who understands and someone they can turn to will open up their whole world. Um, they start to feel safe. They know that they can start living their authentic self. Some of us hope that family members and friends can be our allies. However, that may not be the case for them, and or they might not have that opportunity. So I think it's very important that we encourage allyship in the workplace for this reason, because you think that family is a safe place, but for them it's not, and they need somebody else to be there for them. Um, I think, sorry, Safe encourages and promotes allyship by teaching and discussing what an ally is and what can you do to become an ally. We discuss what simple things can be done that can have a huge impact on others. Um, Allyship empowers those who feel powerless, and allyship can be life saving. Again, allyship is everything.
It's just so powerful, for you to say that allyship is life-saving. And I think all three of you have shared kind of that mindset that it very much can be, if someone has no one to turn to, but then they do find that community. So I'm so happy that all three of you feel strongly that you have allies, specifically within Sterling as well, that your colleagues, your managers, your mentors, you can consider them allies. And I think that's truly, truly remarkable. So this again was just a tremendous conversation. I absolutely adored talking to the three of you on all things Pride. It was great. We got real into it. I appreciate you, all three of you, being authentic, not holding anything back, sharing raw emotion, sharing raw stories. And I think that's what a lot of us need to hear. And I think that, it's a time to reflect on the good, but also what has gone on in the past, the struggles, everything like that, being welcome into communities and everything else. So again, I appreciate all three of you for sharing all your stories. I want to thank our audience for tuning in live. Again, we do this episode every year, and I will say this is my favorite episode every single year. So I appreciate that I got to talk to the three of you. So with that being said, I will see everyone on the next episode. But Jeiel, Lyvia, and Keith, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for having
much, Kathleen. It was amazing. Thanks, everyone.